one aspect, let's pick up the UDP thing. Before the final, when you said, of course, you always expected Lawyer Dago to be the eventual candidate. You said you always expected him to be. There was a contentious candidate in Talib Ahmed Bensouda. He had to withdraw because, according to him, he had already promised that if Dago was interested, he was not going to be interested. But we saw his candidature brought a lot of acrimony between the members of the party. Why do you think his candidature was so much become so much a row?
For Talib, he is very new in the face of the political race in this country because coming quite young as a candidate for the mayor, and he went in for a whole term and returned again. So by 2026, the intention was from very many Gambian, if you look at their perception, was that the United Democratic needs a change in leadership. So there is an intergenerational fight within the UDP at the political space. But what makes the intergenerational fight quite interesting is that the old gowns have their young football team, and also the young football team, Talib, also have his old gowns within UDP, who also share the same view that bringing Dabo again would be quite very difficult for the party to win. Because when you look at the definition of political parties, they are just formed to form government. So if you form a political party and you are not forming government, then that's also quite problematic. So that does not mean also oppositions are not quite important within the democratic space. They are, but the UDP have claimed majority for some time, but that majority have never delivered a government to them. So is it not time for them to rethink over it? And then Talib was one image that was coming out. When the Gambia Participate SEPRAS data came out, I had this discussion over a radio with someone, and he was saying, why is it that the NPP did not, the SEPRAS part of their methodology did not identify anybody in NPP? I told him that is quite good for NPP when you look at consolidations within political party. Because if you look at having more options within the political party, it creates inter-party conflict. And that inter-party conflicts become quite very difficult to mold. So if you also look at the MDC in Zimbabwe, Morgan Changarai, after 2013, it was the same thing. After they lost post-2013, we've seen how the party divided before election and how that reflected the incumbents' dominance. So is that likely to happen in Banjul too? I would not rule it out, yes, because we have seen coalition being formed without the accompany of UDP in this country, and they were never able to move out even a dictatorial system. Not to talk of President Barrow, who is aren't a dictator in figure. So do we need more consolidation, or we need a leadership? So leadership have been a question around it, and UDP in their belief. But one thing I find very funny out of it is that people that are not part of UDP want to dictate UDP leadership problems.
People who are not
part of UDP, if you ask them, they will tell you, I don't support UDP, but I think Talib should lead. That I find problematic, because if you think Talib should lead, join the gown and change it with him. Right? So people also from NPP, you will not see them saying Barrow should not go for a third term. So it is people also that are outside of NPP that are saying he should not run for a third term, even if the constitution permit him to do so. So this is quite very, very important, and that information is a swing decision. Because even when I saw the data come out around 30 or 29% hanging on no decision. But what we do not know over that information is that what is the aggregation of that data? Who constituted that data and what information? So it becomes swing.
You mentioned people who are not definitely UDPians, but are not trying to say, well, they are not supporting UDP, but they support Talib. They think Talib should go. Are they interfering folks, or this is Talib's cross-party appeal?
I would see it Talib cross-party appeal as you would describe it. That is what I would see it to be. But however, I think the young politicians in UDP shoot themselves from their own foot, including Talib. Because if I join the United Democratic Party on belief, and I know that I have intention to run for presidency in no time, there is no way I would declare Dabo as somebody that if he runs, I will not run. I will not sacrifice my constitutional right for him. Rather, is he not also sacrificing his constitutional right for anybody within UDP for quite some time? So we've seen Yankuba Dabo did the same, Talib did the same, and some other people that did not come out also did said similar information. And this now puts them to a crossroad over, because if Talib is to lead the UDP, psychologically the UDP is not ready for that. Because they have just picked a shock with Barrow in 2018 when they made him lead the coalition and they backed him up. He formed government, later severe with them, and in their mind is that they are being betrayed by President Adam Barrow. But if President Adam Barrow did not also do that betrayal, I would doubt if he was listening to Nikolai Machiavelli. And justify he means. Because going into the internal democracies of UDP with Ousainou Darboe, he would have had the same fate as Talib. So that was why he ran his own political party.
So Barrow was right.
He was smart with his action.
He was smart with his action.
Yes.
So he knew he would always have Darboe there as a threat over his.
Right. So, and it would be suicide.
And you think that's what happened to Talib?
So that is what happened to him. So now, if he is to test himself without UDP, and now the question is going to be, if he goes alone, I will tell you there is no chance for him. And if he has to go in for a coalition, I'm seeing also certain degree of people to convince, and whether those people will be ready to give him leadership. Because I've seen even part of the data, it suggested Talib, Essa Fall, and Mama Kande, if they form, they are a united force. But that would be, in fact, more problematic for leadership than Talib in the UDP.
Yeah, interesting.